This is Garrett.
Hey, Garrett, the late Ricky Skaggs.
How you doing today, sir?
Well, besides being late, I'm doing great.
Well, you still got a minute to chat?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, I guess just to start, not to ask a loaded question, but where is Bluegrass today? Is there a divide between neo-traditional and progressive, or is it all one thing, or what do you see?
Well, it's hard to say if there's a real divide in it. I think even the progressives love the traditional. Sometimes the traditionals don't love the progressives so much, but I think the younger generation is easier to forgive and easier to accept change than the old dyed-in-the-wool bluegrassers. I think they have a hard time with the progressives, but
well,
it's
one of those things too where it seems we always have this conversation every 20 years,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the graph has gone way back up again, and so, but I think there's more people playing bluegrass today than ever before, and I think there's more venues for it. I also think there's more young people playing it. I mean, when I listen to Bluegrass Junction, I hear names on there that I've never heard before, and they've got records out, and they're playing them on there, and so I don't really keep up with that part of. I mean, I don't keep up with what's going on in bluegrass so much. I mean, I have to ask my band, who's this guy? Who's this lady? Who is that? Oh, and then they give me a earful and tell me, who they are and who plays in the band and that kind of stuff. So, I still love the traditional style bluegrass. Even Del McCoury. When you go hear a Del McCoury show, unless you're a real big Del McCoury fan, you may not hear too many traditional tunes.
Yeah.
But it's all great. It's amazing. I mean, I love the fact that they always get new material and they go in and record a record and it's still Del just wearing it out, with that guitar and his voice. It's just so perfect. And but there's a few people out there. I mean, Doyle Lawson still tries to do some of the traditional stuff, but I really think that of course Jerry Douglas and the Earls of Leicester, they did a tour for a couple of years, a couple of records they did that was really tipping the hat to Flatt and Scruggs, and all their old songs, and they did it well, and it was wonderful. We do Stanley Brothers, Bill Monroe, Flatt and Scruggs, and Ricky Skaggs,
Yeah.
And we'll take some country songs that we've done, over the years, and turn them into, just driving bluegrass tunes and that kind of thing. And we do, some old gospel hymns and quartet type things. Do some Doc Watson stuff, and we always love paying tribute to Doc, and so. Anyway, it's it's something we like to do. I feel like it's a void out there, that a lot of the young people may have never heard some of those old songs, and so when we dig them out, they go, "Oh God, where'd you hear that song?"
Yeah,
oh, that's one of Ralph's tunes from 100 years ago or whatever.
Well, for someone like yourself who you've spent most of your life in the bluegrass world, what is it about the high lonesome sound that still calls to you?
Man, it is that's it. It's the high lonesome sound still calling. It's just like that old stanky, nasty harmony mountain stuff that I can't explain it. It's there's just there's a sound of it, those sliding notes and those notes in between notes and those old fiddle tunes and it's not always so joyous. I mean, when you'd hear Ralph sing like a funny song or a happy song, it was it was It was like an old preacher in the mountains, an old primitive Baptist preacher, and but that's why we loved him, because he carried a piece of the mountains and a piece of the spirit of that music. He was king of the mountains, and I just I think that
couldn't see you, and I said, "What's that thing sitting out there?"
I'm doing an interview on the phone. I'm all right. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're all good.
Yeah.
Can you still hear
But
me?
it's the sound of it, and the heart and the spirit of it. I think that keeps me, going back to it all the time. When I was at Ralph's funeral, I talked about a well, a well of creativity, a well of the spirit of music that hovered over those mountains there. That well, it's still, you can draw from that well. You have to, if you love it, you'll go back to it. If that's not your cup of tea, then you may like maybe like Flatt and Scruggs. They were a little more on the country side of bluegrass, and Bill Monroe was the father of bluegrass. I mean, he was the one that kind of birthed it and brought it along, and but he was even high on lonesome. I mean, he had he wasn't from the mountains, but man, he carried something that was really ancient sounding, and I don't know. I just love that about the fathers. I mean, they, and now I'm a father. I'm a father in the music. I mean, people look at me as the only, one of the only. I mean, there's others, but,
or like a living bridge to those.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's a good title, as the living bridge, and I think that's because if they want to take that trip and go back and to that part of the mountains, I mean, we're a good stepping, a walkway to get back there, and but if we can throw down with Bruce Hornsby and Ry Cooder and Jack White and people like that, but I think that's one of the things that those guys I mentioned love about us, is that we carry that heart of that mountain old sound, and a lot of it's Celtic, a lot of it is gospel. Even the Celtic stuff was birthed out of a lot of the gospel. Methodists and Presbyterians coming over from Ireland and Scotland, that paid an incredible price to birth a nation, but they had a Bible in one hand and a rifle in the other.
Yeah.
Preachers, they were ready to go,
Well, I was going to say, at 63, you're not old by any means, but you grew up so young in the industry around all of those people. What do you make of that role when people look at you as one of the statesmen? Is that like a full circle thing?
It's kind of hard to believe that it's here, because I felt so young for so long. And I know I'm still young. I mean, in a way, I'm 63, like you said. But I think there is something about the age. Maybe it's the gray hair. I don't know. But people kind of, looking at me now as as a father in the business and a father of the music. But I'm a kind, gentle father that's approachable.
Yeah.
I don't bark and scare people off. Maybe little baby kids that I probably scare them with my old gray hair and just the fact that I want to grab them and hold them and gnaw on their little face.
But what's cool about bluegrass, at least I found as a journalist that writes extensively about it, is that it's always been a very accessible music in terms of even just sharing the knowledge, and I think that you've probably encompassed that role too.
Well, that's an important thing. I think It was, I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure there's the Smithsonian probably has some stuff where they sat down and interviewed Bill Monroe and interviewed Ralph and maybe Carter, maybe Don Reno and Red Smiley and some of those guys that were our heroes, Flatt and Scruggs. But I don't hear a lot of teaching coming out of them. I don't hear a lot of the history, and maybe it's because they were writing the history. I mean, it wasn't history to them. It is history to us now, and I love being, one that gets to tell the story.
Yeah.